Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
That is being shared. All right, awesome. Thank you. Okay, so hi again, everyone. Alicia Ramdal here, co-chair of the Digital Marketing Committee. I'm not going to take up very much of your time with this. We just thought it very necessary to, just share with you some tips, important things to keep in mind when capturing content. Because as Benjamin said, we have some ambitious goals for our digital visibility as an organization. And given the nature of the CSA, we have so many committees, groups, members spread across the Commonwealth. It's not feasible for us to have one team of trained personnel that travels to all of the various engagements that we have to capture it. So this may not be your field of expertise, but you may learn something here that may help you to just heighten the quality of the content that you're capturing, because we really are trying to highlight all of the work that CSC does on every level. All right, so this presentation is specifically on creating short form content for posting to social media platforms like Instagram, Twitter pages, Facebook, and so on. All right. So just a little tidbit I have here. In the digital age, creating compelling short form content is the key to capturing the attention of your audience and driving engagement online, which is a big part of one of our goals. Very briefly here, I have listed the members of the Digital Marketing Committee based on their positions. So co-chairing the committee is Sedella McKee from Jamaica. She is unavoidably absent, but an extremely crucial member of the DMC. Myself, we also have a few multi-purpose members that are multi-skilled, so we did not want to, necessarily place them into a fixed group. It stems from content writing to graphic design to video creation. So we have Rashida, who is from Ghana, Satvik from India, Sudarshan is from Trinidad and Tobago. We also more recently opened a call for community engagement officers and graphic designers. So our community engagement officers are responsible for, being responsive on our social media platforms, answering queries, things like that. So we have Apurva and Vanisha, who are both from India. Those would have been the two young ladies that volunteered Benjamin to translate the content into Hindi. We also have Sylvanus Maniala from Kenya. And we have two persons on board specifically focused on graphic design, and that's Christian from Trinidad and Tobago. And we also have the Panda, who is from Namibia. So just a brief introduction. Sorry, I didn't have pictures. I didn't have pictures of everyone. I didn't want to leave anyone out. So, but we will do, our intention is to post all of the committee members on our social media pages. So you should be able to see them there. Okay, so just a short definition of what is short form content. And it really is just concise, easily digestible bits of content that is able to engage viewers quickly. So we're talking like a matter of seconds, 15 seconds, 30 seconds. When you reach into, the timeline, like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, you're more, it's not necessarily short form anymore. It's usually a very informative video that explains something. But for short form, we just want to capture the important tidbits. So just things like pictures, short videos that can be used to produce reels on Instagram. We know reels is the thing on Instagram now. And also blogs and infographics as well are considered short form content. So this is probably the most important part of the presentation, the slide right here. And it's the key element of captivating content. So probably the most important thing is visual appeal. It's at the top. And that really comes from the quality of your images, the clarity of your videos. Sometimes this varies greatly depending on the device that you're using, the lighting that you're using. There's so many things that affect visual appeal, but we all know that an impactful picture, when you see a nice, clean, crisp picture, it sends a message, it's captivating. Persons are more likely to engage with it, they're more likely to share it to their stories, and it gets more interaction and engagement. Another key element is also authenticity. So if we're able to, create a niche area when it comes to our content, be very creative with what we do something that, is not necessarily the norm on social media. Yes, there are trends, but there are ways that you can take those trends and make it into your own. This is the area where creativity, I think, is most important, is being authentic, capturing, not every moment would be a group of people standing together and smiling. I know our chair has this thing where every time we take a picture, he wants to do a fun picture, or a weird, silly picture. That also really helps to add personality to the organization as well. Relevance is important as well to ensure that you're capturing content that aligns with the message that CSA is trying to get out there. And you should have a very good idea of what our mission and vision is from Benjamin's presentation. And another important element is storytelling. So just creating compelling narratives that are able to get across what you're trying to communicate. Planning ahead is a good idea for this particular point. If you know you're going to an event, you may think ahead of, okay, how can you create a sort of storyline? If it's like come to the Commonwealth Secretariat with me for a day type of thing. Like those things are very engaging when you tell a story and you don't just, drop some information there that doesn't really have much context. All right, so just some best practices for capturing pictures very quickly. Lighting, as I mentioned before, it's always a good idea to use natural light. I think most of us do not walk around with, fancy equipment or professional lighting. So most of us are going to be taking pictures on our phone. So pictures outdoors or pictures where you are facing a window also helps to improve the quality of the picture by a lot. The major thing to avoid would be to try and avoid having lighting behind the subject that you're taking a picture of. That is going to result in, the persons in the picture, whatever you're taking a picture of, coming out very, very dark with the background being very bright, and it's not very flattering. This is just a quick tip. The next one, composition. It's a very simple tip that a lot of photographers use, and it's called the rule of thirds. So what it really says is that, for example, imagine that this picture is separated into thirds. So like the first third is here, if you're seeing this line, and the second third is here. So you separate it into three. The rule is generally that the picture should occupy 2/3 of the subject, should occupy 2/3 of the entire picture. So there should be at least 1/3 of the picture should just be, the background, or it should not be that the entire picture is just up in someone's face, or it's only capturing the subject alone. This actually helps the quality of it just helps with the look and the feel of the picture. And when we post it to social media as well, if you know platforms like Instagram, when you look at it from the grid view, Instagram actually crops some of your pictures. So if you're scrolling through an Instagram grid, if you're on the page itself, you're going to see that the full picture is not being shown in the little thumbnail. So when you have the subject matter taking up less area of the picture, it also helps with all of that. I would encourage capturing candid moments as well. Sometimes, persons might be having a conversation, they may be making a presentation, they're not necessarily posing for the picture, but it helps to show the work that they're doing and not necessarily that they were just present. So those types of pictures are very welcomed. And another thing that can enhance your pictures significantly, you don't necessarily have to. I mean, we can always do this from our end, that is the Digital Marketing Committee. It's just some basic editing. There are some very useful free apps like Facetune and Canva that help with editing pictures a lot. And if you don't want to download the app, almost every smartphone now comes with some features that allows you to adjust your brightness, your contrast, your sharpness, those types of things. If you're comfortable playing around with that, you can feel free to do so. Just a little pro tip though, is to always try and capture the best quality image possible before editing. So don't try to rely on, don't go and take a very, very dark picture and say, okay, I'll just brighten it. Because sometimes when you edit the picture too much, it ends up looking very unflattering. So the best option is always to capture a raw image that is high quality. This is just some techniques for shooting videos. I think the first one is obvious. Its stability is very important. So nobody really wants to watch a video that is very shaky or blurry. It's not focused on the person that is speaking, or it's not focused on, whatever the video is aiming to show. Tripods and stabilizers help a lot to avoid this. And there are a lot of, very cheap, small handheld tripods. I'm not encouraging anyone to go out and purchase any of these equipments, but if you do have one at home, one that you use personally, maybe a great idea to carry it if you're going to a conference, if you're going to a formal engagement, CSE related, it may be a good idea to take that along with you. Or otherwise, just ensure that whoever is taking the video has a very steady hand. If you know that's not you, then probably ask someone else to capture the video that you want. Next is sound quality. This really only applies when you want the audience to hear what is being said in the video. Sometimes we take videos and, we can always put some background music. We don't necessarily, no one is speaking in the video, or they're not saying anything that we necessarily want to share. We just want to show the fact that they're on stage making a speech. That's fine. But where you do want to hear what they're saying, it's really best to avoid, taking videos in a noisy room. I think that's pretty obvious. If you want to do a short, small interview with someone, it may be a good idea to just ask them to step into a quiet room with you, or even to step outside if a meeting is happening inside. Just, be mindful. Be mindful also of being in small or enclosed environments where there's a lot of echoing, because that also makes videos sound very muffled. And there's not very much that we can do to improve the audio of a video. The way we can edit pictures, there are ways to edit audio as well, but it's very, very complicated, and it doesn't usually get the desired result. So moving on very quickly is just pacing. Pacing, the length of your video, ensure that it probably doesn't end too abruptly. If you're capturing something specific, it's not awkward in the way that you capture it. So if you're capturing, I guess, know what portion of what is happening that you want to capture. Or if you capture too much, that's always better, because you can then crop the video after. It's always better to capture more than to capture less. And lastly is B-roll footage. This is a little bit, I guess, getting a little bit complex. It's not a necessity, but if you really want to be fancy and you want to capture, supplementary footage, that's not necessarily the main. So for example, say someone is giving a speech, the main footage that you would be capturing would be that person on stage giving that speech. B-roll footage may be just like a view of the audience. It's not the primary interest, but it helps to give context and add dimension to the video and understanding what is happening. Okay, I think this is the last substantive slide that I have, so just bear with me. I thought it was necessary to talk a little bit about capturing online meeting content as well, since so much of our meetings are online. So where, for example, if we wanted to capture footage from this meeting, capturing screen sharing is usually a good idea. I know sometimes most people, when they have a Zoom meeting, they just ask everyone to turn on their cameras at the end and take a picture. But if you're really trying to, again, tell a story about what happened during that meeting, maybe a good idea to capture snippets of screen sharing, but it's also very important to ensure that there's no private or confidential information on that slide before you capture that picture to be shared. So you need to be very mindful of that. The person who is capturing or taking screenshots, which is recommended, it's highly recommended that when you're capturing online meetings, you take a screenshot from your device directly, and you do not take a device to take a picture of another device, because that diminishes the quality significantly. When speaker view is turned on, then you get the real gist of, who is speaking, and who is the audience, who is the presenter, especially if it's someone notable. We want to capture them while they're doing their thing. Another very obvious tip is asking persons to turn on the camera before you just go screenshotting. So sometimes it may be useful to, at the beginning, say, "Hi everyone, at the end of this meeting, we'd like to take a picture." So it gives people time to, if they haven't combed their hair and they want to comb their hair because they weren't expecting to turn on their camera and things like that. It gives them a little bit of time to prepare so that you can then take a picture at the end if you so desire. And very, very important, last thing in relation to online meetings is privacy and consent. So it's very important to ensure that you obtain consent before recording, or taking pictures, or you at least notify them so everyone is aware. Most platforms do this for you. If you're, like Zoom is recording, there's a notification that pops up, but it's still important to notify them if you have an intention to share the content on social media. So if you're taking a picture that you want to share to Instagram, so on and so forth, not everyone thinks that when a meeting is recorded, it's going to be, shared on social media. They probably think it's going to be sent to the participants, or something of that sort. So it's just a best practice. It's not mandatory, but it's good practice. This is just in terms of submitting your content. So I don't think I need to go into this in too much detail. Just ensure that your file is appropriate for social media sharing. It's pretty straightforward. We can't be an audio file that you want to share to Instagram. It doesn't really work like that. So pictures, PNG, JPG, preferably, for Instagram. Videos, try to keep them short and concise. Avoid excessively large videos. We know that if you have an iPhone, you can increase the, I'm sorry, excuse me. Yeah, sorry about that. So we know if you have an iPhone, you can increase the quality of your video by changing the settings on your iPhone, but that also can result in the file being extremely large. It can result in a 1-minute video taking up too much memory. So be mindful of that as well. Quality is important, but if you're taking a very, very long video that you want to be uploaded, it may be best to settle somewhere in the middle, just for the purposes of sometimes your device memory may become full very quickly. You need to be mindful of all of that, especially if you're capturing content over a long, prolonged period of time or a number of days. It's recommended to use secure platforms when you're sharing your content with any of your team members or with the digital marketing committee for sharing purposes. Mostly what we use is just sending it via a Google Drive link, or you can also use WeTransfer if you're sharing, very bulky, a large number of files. And lastly is to ensure that you submit your content to the digital marketing team through the designated channels. So we do have designated channels. You are discouraged from sending media on WhatsApp, just and things like that, because we have created channels to try and streamline the process a bit more. I will share the link to those resources in the chat. We have a CSA content publication request form and a content creation request form. Benjamin, I don't know how much time I have. Can you tell me? Give me a time check.
3 more minutes.
3 more minutes. Okay. I had wanted to just go through these forms briefly to
Go ahead.
Right. So these are just the resources. I will share that in the chat. Let me just show you very quickly what the forms look like. Sorry, oh no, I think I'm sharing. I'm trying to, give me 1 second. Okay, so sorry for the delay. I'm just showing you very quickly this is the content sharing form that you will get the link to if you want content to be shared. So some basic information. We ask for the date when you want the content to be posted. We can create captions as well, but if you may have a better working knowledge of what is happening in the video or the picture, so we ask that you give a description, or if you want a specific caption, that's even better for us, makes our lives easier. You can just place the caption there. Important dates is really giving us a timeline of when the activity took place, so we can refer to that. Any necessary hashtags, just the necessary information that we need to make the post. Tags or handles of persons who may be in the picture. We may not necessarily have access to that information, so we ask for all of that here. And if you want to specify the platform that it's shared on, you can go ahead and do that as well, or that's not necessary. And of course, there's the option here for you to upload the file. And then the content creation request form is very similar, but this is where you want us to create content for you. It's not necessary that you have a picture that you want us to post. That would be the content sharing form. But for content creation, this is the form. It's very, very similar, same information. We just ask for a description of what you want the graphic to look like. Any design ideas that you have. For example, if you have a template or you see a graphic and you're like, I want to do a similar graphic like this for my committee, you can upload that here. We also ask for logos because here we'll be creating the graphics. If you have access to the logos, that would be helpful as well. Everything else is more or less the same. So that is, I think, basically it for my presentation. Thanks everyone for listening, and I hope it was helpful. Handing back over to Benjamin.
Thank you, Alicia. I sent